Wednesday's sacking of the board and management of three banks is causing ripples in the banking sector. In a sweeping move, Nigeria's central bank removed the top executives of Union, Keystone, and Polaris banks, citing serious breaches in banking regulations and corporate governance. New chief executives have also been named for the three prominent lenders. The Rise News correspondent Nkechi Nana reports.
January 10, 2024, a day that will be etched in the history of Nigerian banking. The country's central bank took drastic action, dismissing the directors of Union, Keystone, and Polaris banks. Infractions ranging from regulatory non-compliance to corporate governance failure were cited. The CBN invoked Section 12C, F, G, and H of the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act 2020, justifying the unprecedented move. And on January 11, 2024, a new chapter begins. The CBN has appointed new leaders to steer Union, Keystone, and Polaris banks through these turbulent waters. Yetunde Oni, Hassan Imam, and Lawal Omokayode Akintola have been entrusted with the responsibility to restore order and stability to these financial institutions. This drastic decision may be part of the implementation of the report by the Special Investigator and the CBN and related entities, Jim Obaze, following a directive from President Bola Tinubu.
Issues around the acquisition of these three banks were public knowledge to those of in the financial services industry. It's just that it was at a period when we had a fellow who does not do any bad, who did not do any bad, or couldn't do any bad, any evil, or couldn't do any wrong, as we say. Or a king that who couldn't do any wrong. So at that point, in as much as it was discussed publicly, but in muted groups, that this was the structure of acquisition of these banks. So it didn't come as a surprise to us when we saw the Obaze report that indicated clearly that this financial institution were not acquired by private capital, but by all form of structure. And in addition to that, the intervention we saw, given the acquisition method, it should not be surprising to anybody. If you say a financial institution was acquired with public resources in using private entities as conduit, so and all you just need is lift the veil of incorporation, as we say in legal terms. A good thing you're a lawyer. You lift the veil of incorporation and go to the root of who actually owns those entities. And when you do that, you're going to end up with government owning those entities. So the owners of the entity have actually intervened to make sure they appoint people to manage the entities for them.
But our story really begins on October 25, 2021, when Titan Bank sent a seemingly routine request to the Central Bank of Nigeria. Little did they know, this would set off a chain of events that would send shock waves through the nation's financial institutions. Titan sought approval to acquire Union Bank, a historic institution tracing its roots back to 1917, when it was known as Barclays Bank. The acquisition plan, outlined in meticulous detail, involved a complex process of share acquisition, mandatory tender offers, and a final merger. Fast forward to October 24, 2022, the central bank granted Titan Bank approval to launch a mandatory tender offer for Union Bank. This was a pivotal moment, greenlighting a takeover that would soon become fraught with controversy. On November 2, 2022, Titan Bank initiated the mandatory takeover of Union Bank, acting within the bounds of the CBN's approval. However, shadows loomed as the physical addresses of Titan Bank's key investors in Dubai proved elusive. December 5, 2023, a date that would mark a turning point. A scheduled meeting between the directors of Union, Titan Bank, and the Apex Bank's deputy governor in charge of financial system stability did not materialize, leading to further suspicions. And then a bombshell dropped on December 23, 2023. In the Obaza report, former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele faced accusations of acquiring Union Bank for Titan Trust Bank Limited and Keystone Bank through proxies. However, the report has not presented evidence so far to support the allegations. A critical query arises. While the CBN can change bank management, it cannot alter the shareholders. What unfolds next in this intricate scenario? How did a routine acquisition request transform into a saga of intrigue and regulatory intervention? And what becomes of the funds entrusted by depositors? What becomes of the shareholders?
The shareholders that we are referring to now are those who are alleged to have surreptitiously acquired these banks through government, through public resources or with public resources. So in effect, you don't have the general shareholding that you had in other banks because the banks were previously nationalized. Polaris Bank was previously Sky Bank, which was nationalized. Keystone Bank was former Bank PHB that was nationalized. Union Bank is the one that ordinarily you should have ordinary shareholder. But I also know that the acquirers of the Union Bank had actually taken it private by buying out existing shareholders or made it a non-publicly quoted company. I don't think they bought out the existing shareholder, but it is not publicly quoted. So the shareholders, so what will be issued in Union Bank is the proportion of the shares of Union Bank that have been acquired through this special purpose vehicle. That's the allegation is that it was funded through public resource. So once that is sorted, the existing shareholders will maintain their shareholding without any disturbance. As it relates to deposits, the central bank in its announcement stated that depositors have nothing to worry about. And I personally don't think the central bank will do anything that will impede on the liabilities of the banks or the rights of depositors to access their funding or the ability of these banks to meet their obligations as and when due. Because once you do that, you're going to affect systemic banking system confidence, and that could lead to a run, not on these banks, but on other banks. So I think central bank will be, as a lender of last resort, will guarantee the deposits of this bank and make sure they will continue to operate effectively.
The Nigerian banking sector stands at a crossroads, and only time will reveal the lasting impact of these unprecedented events. Nkechi Nana, Arise News.